Welcome to Unshakeable with Human Design, the show dedicated to helping entrepreneurs use human design to shift from hustle to flow without sacrificing results. Come here to become an unshakable human and build an unshakable business according to your human design. I'm your host, Nicole Laino. Hello and welcome to Unshakeable with Human Design, everybody. I'm your host, Nicole Laino, and I want to dive into one specific, particular aspect of the human design chart today, specifically one that has to do with human design and business. So all of you may know that I have kind of a formula that I use called the authority matrix, and this is one of those pieces. One gate in the human design chart gives us a clue into what you are meant to do in life. I refer to it as the career gate, and it's your unconscious Mars. This gate and anything else in human design, it is about embodying it. It is about understanding it and how it reflects in your life, what your experience has been with the particular theme of this gate. Now, like I said, just like the Mercury gate, where I think sometimes people put too much emphasis on the Mercury gate and what it means for your message, and they leave out all the other stuff. Because it's so much easier to sell you something if we tell you it's just this one thing. If you get it, then all of your problems will be answered. If only it were all that simple. But rather, the way I approach human design and the way that I approach human design and business is these are codes. These are ways that we are programmed. And some of us are operating where there are pieces of our program that are not functioning optimally, that are not coming through the way that they are meant to. I was talking with someone the other day and I used the analogy of if there's one instrument out of tune in a symphony, you will hear that over everything else. So it's important that we tune all of the instruments. And the authority matrix is the 8 instruments that I use the most. I'm not ever going to say that they are all that I use, because when I do business readings with people, it's why when you join Business by Design, my mentorship, when you come into the mentorship, you get readings with me where I go through your chart with you individually. Why? Because I really want you to understand and I want to call out the things that are important to you. I go through the authority matrix, through these 8 elements that I think hold the most bang for your buck when becoming an authority, when wanting to step up and understand what you have to say, what you have to offer, and to build your confidence in knowing that you are building a message and a business around your actual genius. And what happens during this process of discovering how your genius works, what your genius is, when we get into those specifics of it, the confidence that comes from this. That's why the show is called Unshakeable with Human Design, because I do believe that understanding who you are, what makes you tick, what your shadows are, how to see them without reacting to them, how to learn how to turn them up into your gifts, how to see your gifts through the difficulties. It gives you this mechanism to look at what are yours. And through that process, you do become unshakable. Life starts to be very, very different. You approach it differently. And when you approach your business from this aspect, when you come at it from this perspective, you start to have a very powerful message that feels like it's very tailored for a certain person without you feeling stuck. You feel really empowered to go all in on these aspects of yourself. So like I said, I have 8 elements that I focus on the most. Sometimes someone's chart is just screaming at me something else, and that's what comes out in a reading where I'm like, look, you've got gate 34 in 6 places in your chart. This actually happened with a client. Like you have gate 34 in 6 places. They're in 2 of your authority matrix places or 2 or 3 of them, I forget. But I went through the chart and I was like, you really need to look at gate 34. I don't know what it holds for you. Here's what it means. Here are some questions and ways that I want you to dig around in this hole, but find out what lies for you there. I don't know what the answer is. Only you know that, but I'll be there for you and there with you to walk you through that process. And just through the one gate, because it is such a huge presence in her chart, that was something that has shifted her completely. She's a projector. And understanding how having this sacral gate playing such a huge role in her chart how when she dipped into shadow in that, how it threw off so much of her design and burned her out as a projector. It was this huge shift. So she said, she's like, the gate 34 thing is blowing my mind. I see it everywhere now that I'm paying attention to it. And that's giving her some clues as to what she has to offer. So that's how it works. But the authority matrix, like I said, there are 8 pieces of it. I'm going to dive into one piece here today. But if you'd like to go through the entire thing with me, which this is what I use the authority matrix to help you build your genius brand by design. If you want to go through all of that, I am doing my 5-day masterclass on how to build your whole business by design. And the Genius Brand is one whole session that I devote to going into the authority matrix, where I go through all 8 elements with you. If you'd like to do that, where you want to learn how to blend the energetic element of business with building your genius brand, really digging into who am I on a deep soul cellular level, and then also the strategic side of how do you build a business that makes money? How do you build a business that's sustainable, where you're actually building something? You're not just making sales here and there. There's an actual strategy underneath it so that you can actually feel really aligned in what you do, that you can sell more, you can serve more, rather than feeling like you're always wondering, what am I going to do? How am I going to grow? What am I going to do? How am I going to grow? So we teach you how to do all of that, and all the way to building an authority platform that is helping bring in evergreen sales so that you are making sales through your regular routine. Plus you have these other ways of driving sales in bigger fashion at other points during the year. So we take you through all of that. I take you through all that in the masterclass. All you have to do is DM me the word masterclass on Instagram. I'm at Nicole Laino Official, and you'll get registered right there in the DMs. And if you just want to go to the website, you could do that too. You could go to NicoleLaino.com/masterclass, and we can register you right there. Okay? So let's start talking about the unconscious Mars gate, what I refer to as the career gate in the authority matrix. It's also called the vocation in Gene Keys. Now, the unconscious Mars gate, let's talk a little bit about why we call it the career gate. There's a real journey with Mars. There's a real journey with this. I've heard people describe it as the little brother, that Mars is very much masculine energy, but there's like an immaturity to it at the start. So we have this big growth arc with Mars, where if we look at our Mars placements, we might find a little bit of something about our journey, about what we are going to have a journey with. And if we look at it through human design, we would say, well, we're going to have a journey with, and it's that gate's theme. Now, we're also going to take a look at, this is an unconscious activation. It's not the conscious Mars that we look at for this. It's the unconscious Mars. So let's just take one step back and just go into a little bit about what the Mars energy is. And just from an astrological standpoint, I'm going to give you just some points about what Mars is, just to sort of drive this point home. Okay, so Mars is known as masculine energy. It is one of the masculine planets. It is ambitious. This is where sexual energy is. Action. It's very much about outward action, primal instincts kind of thing. I don't want to say primal like the spleen. It's not survival. It is like animal instinct. I want it. And I think one thing that can drive this point home a little bit more even is knowing that the human design gates that fall under Aries, because Mars is in Aries, Aries has the human design gates 3, 42, 51, 21, and 17 are all part of Aries. Now, if you look at those gates, you have 3 and 42 that are in the sacral center, coming up from the root. So a lot of action, a lot of power there. These are format energies in the chart, which is a whole other thing. And then we have 51 and 21, which are ego energy, big ego energy, control and initiation, shock. That's these two energies. And then we have the 17. And debatable about where it falls. Sometimes gate 25 can be in Aries, sometimes it can be in Pisces, depending on what line you're in. It sort of straddles those two. But that would be the entire initiation channel of 51-25, if you want to count that. So 51 and 21, ego energy, a lot of like, now, do it now, go first, I want control. And then for good measure, we have gate 17 in there, which is in the Ajna center. That is about like facts and hard receipts for the things that you talk about. The ways that you're forming your opinions are based on fact and logic. A lot of masculine style energy here. Okay, So I think that that gives some color into what this planet represents. And this is how we start this process, is we start to look at these things, and it's not an accident what ends up in the authority matrix. It's not an accident which planets and which placements end up in the gene keys, journeys. These are all very purposeful. It's what we've found driving our behavior in these ways. And whenever we have something that's unconscious, we're going to have more inner work to do. It's going to be more about what's happening inside of us rather than us taking action, trying to do things with this gate. It's going to be a little bit more about what is my experience with this? And what's interesting about unconscious Mars is it sits in two places in the gene keys journeys. It plays double duty, and it is known as the core wound, and it is also known as the vocation. So it's part of the Venus sequence, and it's also part of the Pearl sequence. So this one, the reason why it plays such a huge role is as the core wound, it tells us something about what we came into the world with. What's kind of a journey that we're going to take? What's going to be a theme of maybe overcoming something, having to learn a lesson? That's going to be underlying everything to do with this particular gate, everything to do with unconscious Mars. And then I think there's just sort of a universal lesson with business here, that there are a lot of people trying to sell something they have not embodied. And anything on the unconscious side of the chart is about embodying it way more than doing it outwardly or talking about it. It's about being it. But there's a lot of people not walking the walk. They haven't fully completed the journey, and it shows. And there's more work for them to do on themselves, or sometimes these themes can lend to what's internally holding us back from taking external action. It all depends on what gate you have there. I have gate 29 in that placement, so the journey of going from the shadow of gate 29 to understanding what that has really looked like for me has started to tell me, or when I started doing this work, it was hugely eye-opening to the work I still had to do. It told me why, since I was still overcoming it, I had to be honest with myself. Am I really still working through this, or have I? And I landed on, oh no, you're really still working through this. And I'm not going to say that I'm done with everything, or that you need to be done in order to go out and teach what you know, or go out and sell what you do. But you do have to have real confidence. And the unconscious Mars or core wound can really throw off your confidence, because it is a core thing. It is this little scared child that is really buried inside of you, looking for light, and they can't seem to find it. And until they do, they're sort of screwing up your energy and screwing with you until you free them, until you go and you talk to them and you start to understand what that energy has been trying to tell you. And once you do, once you transcend the shadow, once you recognize that it's there and start to observe it, then you start to live in the gift. This in and of itself starts to become your story. It starts to become what you have to offer other people, which is why we call it the career gate. Now, I never want to make it sound like that has to be your business. It does not. It does not have to be all about that, but it's going to be some sort of central theme to the way that you do it. So gate 29 is about committing to the right things, about committing your energy to really being able to go all in on what feels good to you, what it is that you really want, to not be afraid and shy away because you're scared or because you've committed to something that you didn't want to do and then you phone it in. Now, I have a long history with all of that. And even though I'm not necessarily saying it all the time, it's not like the heading on my website or on my sales page for Business by Design or anything else. But I do talk about committing to the right things. And I can give many cautionary tales of what it's like to do something because you should and then have it mess up all other areas of your life because you're phoning it in. You feel trapped. You feel like you cannot get out of it. And it feels like internal death. And what that causes is this feeling like, I don't even know if anything is worth it anymore. I don't have energy for the things that I really do want anymore. And I don't believe. It is disheartening to be in that place. And I have been there so often that I can really help somebody who's going through that. I can walk them through that desert and I can assure them that there's water if they keep going. Why? Because I've been there, because I understand it. and I can speak about it in a way that gets through to them because it is authentic to me. And that's the difference between building a brand based on things that you think people want, or the list of power words that you downloaded from some copywriter and now you're squishing them into your copy. Outside of all of that, instead of doing it that way, we are coming back to things that ring true for you, that people, when they hear them from you, they go, I believe that. There is real conviction. There's a lot of people that talk about conviction marketing, and I believe in conviction marketing. But conviction marketing often comes from you feeling really safe to go all in on your message. And conviction marketing, where people feel the conviction, doesn't come from you delivering it a certain way. It doesn't come from you being forceful with it. It's authenticity. That's what it is. It's real, true, energetic, cellular level authenticity where people are like, I believe that from you. So someone who's a projector is going to have a very different way of being authentic than me. A 2-4 projector is going to be a very different authentic than moi, the 5-1 emotional manifesting generator. When I'm feeling powerful, I get a lot of energy. With 5-1, I can be really very cut and dry, very to the point, very direct. Now, 2-4 is probably going to have a different way of delivering that, but that will be authentic for them. And if they try to do it like me, it doesn't come out right. It isn't them. So much of building a brand is about finding your own authenticity. And that is what building a genius brand is all about. It's about saying, like, I am a genius. And I'm a genius. So if you're like an NLP coach or a healer, I have psychics, I have life coaches, I have farmers who are teaching people how to be ranchers, regenerative ranchers. I have all sorts of walks of life in my program. All these people I've helped. But every single one of them, if you're a life coach, you might be saying things that feel true, but they're not resonating. And it's usually because they're too vague. And then suddenly when you just start to find your cosmic vocabulary, your energetic words that aren't just buzzwords, but the ones that vibrate on your frequency, where people hear it and they go, I trust that about her. And do you know why that happens? Because you trust it about you. Because you found something in yourself and you worked it and you shifted it and you know the shadow of it and you know the gift of it and now it's yours. And when it's yours, you put out a very different vibration when you speak about it, when you're in that energy. When you tell people that that's what you do, that's power. And that comes out where people feel it on a new level. And that's how you get different yeses. And that's how you start calling in that higher level client that you have been trying to hunt for, find the right words for. If I could only find my next level client. They're out there. They're probably in your audience, but you're not ready for them. And by digging deep into what makes you you, you start to really realize what you have to offer somebody. And then you show up different in the world. So if this interests you to dive into this concept more, if you want to go all the way in with the authority matrix and learn about building your genius brand all alongside the other 4 days where we go into the energetics of embodiment, and then we go into strategic messaging, building a funnel by design, and building an authority platform by your design, having that all tied to your genius. So you're stepping up, living and working as an authority, making your expertise irresistible to the people who encounter it. All you have to do is DM me, Masterclass on Instagram. I'm at Nicole Laino Official. Or go to NicoleLaino.com/masterclass and you can register right there on the website. Thank you for being here. I'm so happy we got to do this episode. I really enjoyed talking about unconscious Mars with you. Thank you so much. I hope that you make it to the masterclass and we see you there. And remember, in order to have an unshakable business, you must first become an unshakable human. So thanks for letting us help you become unshakable with human design, everybody. We'll see you next time. If you love this episode and you're a fan of the show, please show us the love on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to the show and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with other entrepreneurs on their human design journey, join our free Facebook community, Human Design for Entrepreneurs. Go to NicoleLaino.me/podcast links to join the group, book a human design reading with me, or access our free human design resources. We'll see you there.